Alright, so we got a 2007 Mazda 6 in here. What the complaint is when he puts the right hand turn signal on, the flashers come on. The left side operates as normal. And, you know, my first thought is maybe it's a ground or something like that. But I don't want to overcomplicate this. Let's just start with the basic stuff first. I went ahead and already verified the complaint. And one of the things that's kind of common with this is if a bulb's burned out. So what we're going to do now is check all the lights. And like I said, before we get too crazy pulling up line diagrams and condemning turn signal switches or the hazard relay or all that stuff, we'll just go through the basic simple things first. Make sure none of the bulbs are burned out. And go from there, because sometimes you can overcomplicate things. So anyway, we'll get in the car and see what it's doing and check the lights, and just make sure all the bulbs are working before we get too crazy with anything else. Alright, so we're inside the car now, and you can see here left turn signal is on when I push it down, and then we'll go to the right, and now all the hazards on. I already walked around the car. All the turn signal bulbs are working. And if you turn on the hazard switch here, so anyway, all the turn signal bulbs are working. But, and I know on these Hondas, there's a common ground, or not Honda, Mazda. Sorry, Honda people. I know on these Mazdas, there's a common ground under the fender well that goes bad on these quite a bit, or not go bad, but you have to clean it up. But I still want to check the rest of the lights, the tail lights and stuff, just to make sure. Brake lights, because I haven't looked into the wiring on this, but anytime you have an issue like that where they want to light up like that and it's back feeding, go ahead and check all your bulbs and make sure there's nothing burned out. So now I'm going to turn on the headlights, and I'll do a walk around and see if any of the bulbs are burned out. Alright, so this is the front. And we got good lights up here. It looks like they're all working. Got the side marker lights. Let's go to the rear. And we got two tail lights on the left. Alright, we might have found the problem already. We have a tail light out right here. Now, I'm not sure how that's wired in with the turn signals, but before I go any further, I'm not even going to check the wiring diagram. I'm just going to go ahead and replace this bulb and see if that fixes it. That would be a pretty good guess on this. It has to get fixed either way, and it's on the same side as we're having the problem, so it just makes common sense. We'll go ahead and replace this taillight bulb here first, and then we'll see if that fixes our blinkers. If not, next thing will be, I should check the brake lights. I don't have anybody here with me, so I have to put something on the brake pedal. But I'll check the brake lights, and then we'll replace that bulb. If that doesn't fix it, then we'll bust out the wiring diagram and go from there. But right now, let's fix that and see what happens. And let's check the brake lights real quick. Alright, so I stuck my Milwaukee Impact on the brake pedal. You can see here we got brake lights, third brake light, and passenger brake lights, and they're all working. So right now, all we know for sure is we have a burned out tail light bulb on this bulb here. So let's go ahead and get to that, replace that, and then we'll see what happens from there. Alright, so it looks pretty simple. You just turn these two knobs to get this panel out. At least that's what I think. Okay, well, there's two knobs. There's one here, one there. You turn those, that should pull this panel out. Let me do that real quick. It's kind of hard to hold the camera and do it at the same time. Alright, so once you manage to get that out of the way, which is pretty, like I said, it's pretty simple. Just turn those two knobs. Now we got a little access panel here that goes to right to the light we need. I believe it's this one here, which is the tail light. So we'll just unscrew that, pull it out, and take a look at it. Alright, so I got it out. Just you know, press in on the connector and it pulls right out, and then you just turn this. I don't know if it's picking up on the camera, but this bulb was definitely burned out. It's got the blackness around it, and then the connector is broken on the inside. So we'll go get one of these and replace it, and that should fix our taillight, and then we will check our blinkers after we get it replaced. Alright, so the Mazda 607 takes a 7443. I don't know if that's focusing. It's kind of blurry. So we'll go ahead and install one of these into the connector. Alright, so here's the big tail of the connector. If you don't know, these just slide in and out. So you just slide the old one out. Really need to get a... Alright, so here's the connector. If you don't know, these just slide in and out. So you just pull the old one out. This is what you'll have. And you just snap the new one in. You can kind of hear it snap in. And then you'll install this back into your taillight. And I'll kind of show you that. But on these type, you know, the old school ones, you have to push down and turn them or whatever. On these type, you just pull them in and out. I know it's kind of basic stuff, but if you've never had to replace one of these or whatever, this is just, it's just kind of showing you. So anyway, we'll go to the back now and snap this in the tail. Alright, so there's a hole we took it out of, so you just put this in and rotate it. You put it in, just rotate it back towards you, and that should snap it in place. And then once you do that, you just plug this pigtail back in. It only goes in one way, and then you can test everything out. Alright, so I got the lights on. You can see the tail lights working now. But it did not fix our problem. The turn signal, when you go to the right, it still flashes the flashers. So anyway, that wasn't a waste of time because that needed to be fixed anyway, and it's always a good idea to check all your lights when you have a problem like that. So the next step is we will go to the wiring diagrams and see if we can start narrowing it down and make a logical decision on what's going on with it. Alright, I hope you can see this. I pulled up a wiring diagram for this car, and what I'm looking at here, this is the turn signal switch that's on your steering column. And the reason I didn't want to tear apart the steering column to get to the wires here, because I don't think it's this, just because when you do turn it or activate it, it does activate the left side, and it does activate the flashes on the right side. And I did a little research. This car doesn't have a normal flasher, you know, the hazard flasher relay that most cars have. It's all controlled by this body control module right here. And according to Mitchell here, it says the body control module is behind the left front kick panel. So that's going to be easier to get to than trying to pull the steering column apart and look for the wires. I mean, I don't know how these wires run. Every car is a little different. I mean, I'm sure you can maybe find them, you know, coming down the steering column and then going somewhere. But I really don't want to probe into those wires if I don't have to. It sounds like it's going to be easier for me just to go to this body control module. And what I want to do is check and make sure there's power getting down to, because you look here, it's got the white, red, white, black. White, black is the left side signal. Right, red is the right side signal. So what we want to do is just make sure it's getting power down to this control module. There's no point in taking the steering column apart just to get, so we'll just take the panel off and get to this and see what's going on from there. And it also has the hazard switch is right here, and that also runs on the body control module. So everything to do with the signals on this car, turn signals, go into this body control module. And you can see here it's got several grounds coming from different various places on the car. And then, like I said, it's got the turn signal switches coming in, the hazard switch. So I'm going to get to this box and then see what we find down there. All right, so behind the kick panel here, there's one Torx bolt kind of holds the kick panel in, and you pull it off. Here's your fuse box, and right here is your body control module. The fuse box is actually connected onto it. So I went ahead and fished out, you need it's the white red and the white black. The white black is the left turn signal. So if you ground that out, if I got my test light hooked to the ground. And you can see here, if I touch my test light to the white and black, that activates the left turn signal. If I touch the right side, that activates the right turn signal without the hazards coming on. And inadvertently, when I probed these in, it started working. So you can see here at the left turn, and now it's working. So what's going on here is the white with the red stripe wire must not have had a good connection with the BCM, the body control module, because as soon as I probed it and pushed it in, the car started working fine. And the right turn signal started working fine. So when I first probed it, it was still doing it, and then I thought, well, maybe I'm not getting a good connection, and I pushed it a little bit farther, and then all of a sudden it started working. So what we have here with this car is maybe a pin is a little bit loose in this pigtail or something like that with the BCM, which is it's good that we found the problem, but it's also unfortunate because I hate it when you kind of fix a problem, you're not trying to fix a problem. I'm just trying to test it, and then all of a sudden it starts working. I know for a fact it is that because when I would push the pin in a little bit farther, it would make contact, and then it's working. So the issue is the pin in this pigtail. I'm going to go ahead and take the pigtail off, unhook it, and see if I can see anything in there. I'm not sure. I might have to get a new pin for it if I can't fix it or mess with it. But according to the Y diagram, there's not a whole lot. The BCM controls the turn signals on this car, so there's not a whole lot else left to check on it. If you were, if say this wasn't your problem, and you're getting, you would check your grounds and all that stuff on the BCM, and eventually you're going to come to the conclusion that probably your BCM is bad on this. I don't know how common it is on these. I know it has to be reprogrammed from the dealer, unless you can program it through your laptop. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling on here, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this pigtail out and take a look at it, see if I can see anything kind of funky with it, and go from there with it. I don't know if I can kind of fix it, then I'll leave it. If not, then I might have to get a hold of Mazda and see if I can get the pins or a whole new pigtail, or what I have to do to fix it permanently. It's possible that we can close it up a little bit, the actual pin in there, and it'll work fine, the rest of the life of the car, who knows. So anyway, that's where we're at with the turn signals. Like I said, as of right now, they're working, and I can actually pull that pin out of there and they'll still work. You can do so. It's definitely you see here, I'll pull it out. I got it jammed in there pretty good now. You can see there, it's still working with my probe out of there. So, and I was tugging on these wires pretty good after I pulled it out, and I couldn't get it to mess up. So it's possible that pin was just out a little bit, and then when I pushed that in, then it's fixed. I don't know. It's a weird. This isn't like a real area where you would hit it a lot or disturb it. I don't think there's any moisture getting in, so it's kind of a weird issue. I don't know if anyone's messed with this recently with this wiring harness. I'm not sure, but that's definitely what the problem was. And it's just one of those things. It's kind of a weird, because it's not really, like I said, it's not an area where you're going to be hitting it a lot, or these wires shouldn't be getting tugged on. But that's how it goes with some of these pins and with these computers and stuff and the connectors. They just get funky. So anyway, I'll take that apart, see if I see anything. If not, I'm going to put it back together and I guess give it back to her and see how it goes. If it doesn't act up again, we'll just consider it a fluke. And if it does act up again, then we'll have to address it. Either put a new pin in or a whole new connector, or maybe I don't know. We'll have to get in there and see what's going on with it. All right, so I got it off. It's the third wire up from the end. I don't know how well this is going to focus in. I didn't see. I actually took a picture of it with my phone and blew it up just so I could see it better. These are tiny pins in here, but I didn't see anything wrong with it, so I went ahead and cleaned it with some spray contact. I use this stuff here, electronic cleaner. You spray it down and then wipe it down real good. Make sure it's dry before you connect it back up. It's supposed to help with cleaning connections and stuff. Oh, so anyway, don't really see anything out of the ordinary with it. So it's possible it's just the pin. Like I said, this happens sometimes when you disturb these pins, or these pins will lose contact a little bit, just enough to screw things up. So at this point, I'm going to make sure it's nice and dry and hook it back up, test it, take it out for a little spin, test it as much as I can, and see what happens with it. I don't think it's the pin in the BCM. They all look pretty solid in there. I think it's, if it's anything, it's going to be the pin on the wire. And I may have to, at some point, I may have to depin it, which I'm not sure. And maybe get a new pin from Mazda. We'll see. Anyway, because I don't think you'd want to change the whole pigtail. Maybe even get a few pins at the junkyard and solder a new wire in, and then put a new pin in that way. I'm not sure. We'll see. I mean, it could be fixed permanently now. And I know this is an 07. I know some of the older Mazda 6s, I almost want to say 06 and 05, have the flasher relay up in the dash. It's not controlled by the body control module like this one is. So depending on your year, make sure you check that, because I know some of these Mazda 6s do have the traditional flasher up in the dash, real far up in there. But this year, it's all controlled by this body control module. So that's why I went right for this. After looking at the wiring diagram, we found the problem within a few minutes. I did check the ground under the air filter, and it looked fine. So I took it off. Actually, there's a main ground for the lights under the air filter and on the fender well. And it's got like 4 grounds going to it for the lights. I took that off and cleaned it up and put it back on just to make sure it's got a good ground. And anyway, so then my next step was look at the wiring diagram. Everything's going into this body control module, so it makes sense to check and see what's going on with that, as far as do we have power going in and grounds and all that stuff. And it's the white and black, and the white and black is the left turn, and the white and red is the right turn. Probe those two, and you can actually ground them out, and it'll flash it, depending on which wire you ground out. And I ground out the white and red, and it was doing the same thing. It was doing the flasher hazards and the right turn signal, and I just moved the probe a little bit, and all of a sudden it started working. So then I pushed the pin in a little bit harder, and it started working on its own. So that's how I stumbled upon it. With sometimes electrical issues, that's what you do. That's why electrical issues can be a real pain, because sometimes just taking the panel off and actually moving the connector a little bit will fix a problem. And then you're like, whoa, what did I do? You never know. That's why it can be tricky with these intermittent. This wasn't really an intermittent problem, but it can be tricky with these electrical issues, because you can just barely move something and all of a sudden it's working. and that makes your troubleshooting go a lot harder. But in this case, like I said, we looked at the wiring diagram, went to the source on it, found it pretty quick. And if you have a Mazda 6 2007 on up, I guess check your BCM connections if you're having a similar issue. So not much else more of this video I think we can do. I'll go ahead and end it here, and hopefully just cleaning the contact up and pushing the pin in a little harder will fix it. If it doesn't, then we'll have to revisit it, maybe replace the pin, or something like that. But for now, we're going to just clean it up real good and make sure it's making good contact, and go from there and make sure see what happens with it. We did replace the tail light on it, which had nothing to do with this, but that's still a good, if you have any lights out, go ahead and replace them before you start looking for electrical problems. On this particular instance, actually I think the tail lights do go into this BCM also, so I mean it could have been related, it wasn't, but you never know what's wired into what. So it's a quick check on that. If you got something weird like that going on, make sure all your bulbs are good. So anyway, I'm going to end this and go to the next one. Got a lot of cars stacked up on me right now, so we'll go ahead and put this one back together, put the kick panel back on, and take it for a spin, make sure it keeps working, and then we'll give it back, and hopefully that'll be a permanent fix for it. If you like this video or got any information out of it, please subscribe to the channel. It helps me reach other people, and I enjoy making the videos and helping people. So if you subscribe to it, that'd be great. And you can check us out on Facebook too. I post some videos there and different things on Facebook, Hoopties Garage. So anyway, get this back together and we'll get this Hoopty back on the road, and I'll see you on the next one.